South Carolina off that loss to Alabama in Tuscaloosa is getting 2.5 points, which was surprising to most people, versus Oklahoma on the going on the road. Let's talk about South Carolina and some of their stats. They averaged 27.5 points per game offensively, 58th in the country, 4.9 yards per play, which is 100th in the country, 3.9 yards per rush, which is 83rd in the country, 7.5 yards per pass, which is 58th in the country. And that sack percentage is still looking mighty bad. That offensive line is still bad. 14.77% of dropbacks end in a sack. That is 134th in the country. Still dead last. I don't think that's going to change. I think that's going to be dead last. Opponents' points per game, still pretty good. 20.3 points per game. That is 25th in the country. 4.4 yards per play. That is 12th in the country. 3.1 yards allowed rushing per play, that is 18th. 6.5 yards per pass, that is 38th. And then sack percentage, 9.79% of the time they get to the quarterback. That is 9th in the country. So they're very good on defense. This could be a very low scoring game because we'll get into these absolutely abysmal Oklahoma offensive statistics. 24.3 points per game, 77th in the country. 4.3 yards per play, 127th in the country. Yards per rush, 3.4, 105th in the country. Yards per pass, 5.8, 123rd in the country. QB sack rate. So on offense, they allow 10% of dropbacks to end in a sack. That is 118th in the country. 19 points per game allowed on the defensive side of the ball, 19th in the country, 4.8 yards per play, 26th in the country, 3.1 yards per rush, 16th in the country, 7.8 yards per pass, 87th in the country, and a 10.05% sack rate, which is 7th in the country, which is very good. These teams resemble each other a lot. Tyler, what do you think about this game?
Well, Oklahoma has to feel good because this one's at home. Now, you did lose to Tennessee last time you played at home. But for me, the key to this game is going to be the run game. I do expect both these teams to try to go with a similar style, and that's to just wear down the opposing defense because statistically speaking, both these offenses are equally as bad, but their defenses are relatively good. Or Oklahoma's is probably better, but still, South Carolina's defense is disgustingly good. Their defensive line is unreal. For me as well, this is kind of an elimination game for a bowl game. Both these teams have a really, really tough end to the season. You know, shout out to South Carolina. They already kind of pulled their upset at Kentucky. That was a good win for them. Oklahoma, you could say the same. They went on the road and beat Auburn. I know that's not really an upset, but that's a game you could feel good about. But the problem is both these teams' offenses are so bad. I could legitimately see this being like a 12-9 Iowa versus Minnesota type game or something stupid like that. I think, like I said, it's going to come down to which offense can wear down the opposing defense. And I'm actually going to go with the road team here. I think South Carolina is going to come on the road and upset Oklahoma. In an elimination game for a bowl game. I understand Oklahoma's 4-2, and obviously South Carolina, all they have to do is win 3 more games. For Oklahoma, they have to win 2 more, one of which they play Maine. But look at both these teams' schedules. It's ridiculously hard. And it just, to me, feels like Shane Beamer is due for one of his flukish wins. This of which would be on the road. It's an earlier kickoff. It's a weird game. I guess Hawkins is going to be playing. I wouldn't be shocked if Arnold is able to come back, and that might be the spark Oklahoma needs to save their season. But I'm gonna go with Rocket Sanders and Lenore Sellers to have more of an impact in the run game, and I'm gonna take South Carolina on the road, 20-17 at Oklahoma.
Okay, yeah, I mean these teams are almost exact carbon copies of each other. Both. I mean, Lenore Sellers is just better than whatever Oklahoma decides to throw out at quarterback. But offensive line-wise, they're both bad. Running backs can't really get going. Javonte Barr. I still think Jackson Arnold might be the second leading rusher for Oklahoma, which is freaking insane after he hasn't played the last 2.5 games. So Oklahoma's really bad on offense. Again, like you said, very good on defense for both these teams. I think the front four of South Carolina is slightly better than the front four for Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's got them at the linebacker position. Secondary are both the weaknesses on the defense, but doesn't matter because you're playing two quarterbacks that can't really push the ball down the field. And honestly, Oklahoma doesn't have any weapons to push the ball down the field. Whereas, South Carolina, Nick Harper kind of did show up in that Alabama game. He looked pretty good. So that is your one weapon to push the ball down the field there. I mean, this is a complete toss-up game. Would not shock me either way. I do think you're going to see one or both of these teams score a defensive touchdown. And I think I'm going to take Oklahoma here super close. I'm going to go Oklahoma 23, South Carolina 20. So I'm going to take the over. Tyler's going to be on the under, and he's going to be on South Carolina. I'm going to be on the opposite side with Oklahoma. I think it's just a complete toss-up game. I think these teams are basically the same team. If they played on a neutral field, it'd be 5-5 each time, and the spread would basically be a pick 'em. That's my opinion on that. Like, these are the most average of average teams the SEC has, honestly.
Well, probably below average for the SEC standards because these two teams, oh my God, it's hard to watch these two teams play offense. It's almost like if these two teams' offenses faced each other, we could see a much, I guess, worse game, but it would be kind of funny. But no, in all seriousness, this is gonna be a bad game. I'm kind of expecting similar to the Auburn game, except for some reason Auburn was able to dominate on the line of scrimmage. That was kind of interesting with Oklahoma, or at least have a little bit more push than I expected. I guess dominate is not necessarily the best word, but Auburn definitely should have beaten Oklahoma. This is going to be a situation where I think that fluke kind of bites you back, because that's where I think Shane Beamer comes in. Watch out for Beamer ball. His special teams. They're going to, again, came up clutch last week with an onside kick. This is what he does. So don't be surprised if South Carolina can steal some points with that special team. I'm going to go with Shane Beamer. I got to trust him here.
And honestly, this is a big game for Brent Venables, because if they end up going, but if they end up going 6-6 with all the offseason, I'm going to say hype, because there are people out there, and I've talked about this, where they sold you a load of BS, honestly, as Oklahoma fans. You shouldn't have bought into it. I don't know why anyone thought this team was going to be 9-3 or better. Like, that's just crazy. I had them at 8-4, and I said that is the absolute best case scenario, and clearly that has not turned out with all the injuries and quarterback play they've gotten. And if he goes 6-6 this year, he's going to have to win 9+ games next year. And if he does not do that, there's a really good chance Brent Venables is fired by the end of next year. So this is a big game. And same with Shane Beamer too. Like, if they don't become bowl eligible, he could be gone at the end of the year.